Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week. If you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. What you're looking at here is my take on a casual hoodie. I know a lot of you guys like the recent cropped one, but sometimes you want something a little bit more loose, right? So I thought this was a good riff on that idea for you lovelies to enjoy. So without further ado, for this project, any category 3 yarn will work, but I use 75% of Baby Burnett Sport yarn in coral. As for tools, a 3.5, 4, and 5.5 millimeter hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There's a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCD DIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order. Watch to the end of the video to learn how to enter this week's giveaway. For this project, we're using 4 stitches, and they will be as follows: chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet. This tutorial is for a size small, but you can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this piece started, we are first going to grab our category 3 yarn and make a slip knot. Next, we're going to grab our 4 millimeter hook and start off by doing some measuring. The first measurement that we're going to make is going to be from one end of the base of your neck across your neck to the other end. And from there, I actually came up with a total of 10 inches or 25 centimeters. So I'm going to start off by making a chain of 45 chains. And go ahead and grab your stitch markers because we're going to be inserting them right after. Now that we have our chain, what we're going to do from here is just chain up one extra, grab our stitch marker, and then insert our stitch marker into there. And now that our stitch marker is into place, from the chain that we currently have, we're going to measure all the way down to where we want our point to be. And I have already measured mine out. Mine's going to be a total of 9 inches or 23 centimeters, so that comes out to 40 chains. And now that we have that portion of our chain done, we're going to chain out another extra one, insert our stitch marker into there, and then from here, from our point going back up to the original chain that we made, we're going to be making another chain of that measurement. So it's going to be the same as the previous one that we just did for me. So I'm going to continue on with making another chain of 40, or that's 9 inches or 23 centimeters. We now have the last bit of that chain. What we're going to do from here is do a chain up of 1, insert our stitch marker into the last chain, and then we're going to slip stitch it into the first chain that we made. And right before we slip stitch it, we're just going to run our thumb along one side just to make sure that it's not twisted, so that the next row we're going to go in with is easier to do. So once when we know it's not twisted, we're going to insert our hook into that first chain, yarn over, and pull through everything. So now that our chain is nice and connected, this is what we should have. What we're going to do from here is go on with the row going back down towards their point, and then come back up towards this next stitch marker that we have. We're not going to be doing anything into this back piece. So what we're going to do is do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then into this first stitch marker that we have, we're going to go in with an increase of 2 single crochets. So we can take this stitch marker out for now, and then into this first chain that we have, we're going to go in with 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochet. And from here, we're going to be inserting our stitch marker into the second single crochet that we made for ourselves, because that is going down towards our point. And then we're going to put 1 single crochet into every stitch that we have until we get to this middle point right here. And then we're going to be doing an increase of 3 single crochets, so I'll meet you guys back right over here. So I've just put 1 single crochet into every chain that we have, and we are now at our middle stitch marker. So what we're going to do is take this guy out, and then into this middle stitch marker where our point is, we're going to go in with an increase of 3 single crochets. So there's 1, there's 2, and then there is 3, all into that middle stitch. From here, we're going to insert our second stitch marker into that second single crochet that we made, because that is our middle point now. And then from here, go ahead and put 1 single crochet into every chain going back up. And then once when we hit this stitch marker over here, we're going to go in with an increase of 2, just like how we started off with. And now that we have single crocheted up the other side of our chain, we are now at our next stitch marker. So we're going to take this guy out, go into that last chain, with an increase of 2 single crochet, and then from this point we're going to be inserting our stitch marker into the second single crochet that we have from our hook, because that is the point that's closest to our point. And once we have that, we're going to be going back down with one more row of back loop single crochets, and then we can get started with the rest. So what we're going to do from here is go in with a chain up of 1 and flip our work. And then into each of our stitch markers that we have, we're going to go in with the same type of increase. So into this stitch marker, we're going to go in with an increase of 2 single crochet. Into this middle stitch marker, we're going to go in with an increase of 3 single crochet. And then back over to this stitch marker, an increase of 2 single crochet. And it's all going to be within the back loop, so let's just do this first one together. We're going to do our chain up of 1 and then flip. Into this first single crochet, our stitch marker isn't in there, so we're going to go in with 1 back loop single crochet. Into this next stitch, that is where our stitch marker is at. We're going to go in with 1 and 2 single crochet into that same stitch, and we're always going to be inserting our stitch marker into the one that is closest to our point. And from here, just go all the way down, putting 1 single crochet into every back loop, and then we're going to increase where each of our stitch markers is at, and then I'll meet you guys back at the end of this row. So this is what we should have once we have just finished up going in with our second row with our back loop single crochets for the collar, and we are actually all done. So I did do a chain up of 1 and cut, making sure that I inserted my stitch marker into the second single crochet that was closest to the middle of our point. So what we're going to do from here is actually try this on, and then from this middle point we are going to measure down to where we want the bottom of this top to be, keeping in mind that it will be curved. So the point that we're measuring is actually going to be the highest point that we have. And I have already measured mine out, so from this point I'm going to start off by making a chain that comes out to 11 inches or 28 centimeters, or that comes out to 40 chains with my 5.5 millimeter hook. That's upside down, 5.5 millimeter hook. So what I'm going to do is take out this middle stitch marker, insert my hook into there, insert my yarn onto my hook, and start off by making the chain of the measurement that I need. Now that we have our chain, what we're going to do from here is block off that last chain, do a chain up of 2 that counts as a half double crochet. We're going to prepare for a half double, and then into that chain that we blocked off, or the third chain from our hook, we're going to go in with a half double crochet. And we're going to go all the way down our chain, putting 1 half double crochet into each of them, but leaving the last one because we're going to have to do an increase right before we connect it into the base. And now that we've made our way all the way up with our half double crochet row, what we're going to do from here is we're going to go into that last chain with an increase of 2 half double crochets. So we're going to prepare for a half double, go into that last chain with 1 half double, and then with 1 more half double just like that. Once we have that, we will be slip stitching into the base to close it off. So we're going to count up 1, 2 stitches, slip stitch into that second stitch to close off this row. And in order to work our way up to the next row, we're going to be slip stitching up 2 stitches and flip our work. And from here, we're going to maintain doing our increase of 2 back loop half double crochets into this first stitch. So let's just do that first one together. We're going to prepare for a half double, go into that first stitch, pull through 3, prepare for a half double into that same back loop, pull through, and pull through 3. Once we have that, we're going to work our way all the way down to the end, putting 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch. Once we make our way down to the end, we're going to do a chain up of 2, flip our work, and then bring it on back down with more back loop half double crochets, remembering to maintain our increase of 2 back loop half double crochets into this last stitch that's closest to the base. And we're going to keep doing that, going all the way down until we hit our stitch marker. So I'll meet you guys back in after just a few rows. So we have just made our way all the way down with our front panel. We've made our way down to our stitch marker, and what we're going to do from here is do our little shoulder chunk. My hook is actually along the bottom of my work, so we're going to start off by doing an increase along the bottom because we do need it to curve. But once we make our way all the way up to the top, we are not going to be doing any decreases. We're just going to do a chain out of 2 to keep this part blunt. And I'm actually going to make sure when I have my shoulder portion that we are going to end along the bottom for our underarm part. So now that I am along the bottom of my work, what I'm going to be doing is doing a chain up of 2 and flip my work. From here, I'm going to prepare for a half double, go into that first back loop with an increase. So there's 1 and there's 2. And then from here, we're just going to be going in with 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch, going all the way up. And just as a quick tip, if you guys actually ended up at the top right here, just do a chain up of 2, bring your work back down, and then when you guys are ready to work your way up to the next row, do your chain up of 2 and then increase, because we're working our way up to the shoulder. And when we have that little shoulder chunk that we have, yours could be 1 row, yours could be 2, we're going to go in with our armhole right after that. So go ahead and make whatever size you guys need, and then I will meet you guys back. So we are back, and we have just finished up going in with our super tiny shoulder portion right here. I ended up just having 2 rows, but I did end along the bottom like how I said in the previous clip. So what we are going to need to do next is insert our stitch marker into the spot where we want our underarm portion to be for our bat wing. So this can be as high or as low as you guys want, depending on how dramatic you guys want it. But just to let you guys know, from this bottom portion all the way up to where I have my stitch marker is actually into the 27th stitch, or this is just about 8 inches or 20 centimeters away from the bottom. But once we have this, we are still going to be maintaining doing the increase into every other row along the bottom. But once we work our way up, just for this first row, we're going to be putting 1 half double into every stitch until we get to that stitch marker. Do our chain up of 2, and then we're going to do a decrease into every row into the top portion while maintaining the increase into every other row along the bottom. So let's just get this first row started off with. So how we're going to start this off is by doing a chain up of 2. That counts as a half double crochet. We will be flipping our work, and since we're working our way up towards our shoulder, we're going to start this row off with an increase of 2, back loop half doubles, so there's 1, there's 2, and then go ahead and put 1 back loop all the way up until you hit our stitch marker. So we have just made our way all the way up with our back loop half double crochets until we hit our stitch marker, and going into the next row, we're going to start our decreases into the first 2 stitches that we have up here. So let's get that started. We are going to do a chain up of 2, that counts as a half double, flip our work, and then into that first back loop we're going to prepare for a half double, insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, insert our hook into that next back loop, yarn over, pull through all 4 loops that's on our hook. Then from here work our way down with more back loop half double crochets, and since we are working our way down towards the bottom, we will not be doing our increase going down towards this way, so just 1 into every stitch going all the way down. Once we reach our last one, do a chain up of 2, flip our work, then do our increase of 2 back loop half doubles, work our way down, leaving the last 3 stitches so that we can do a decrease of 2 into the third and second to last, and then a half double into that last. So we are back, and we have just made our way back up, and we have left our last 3 stitches so that we can do this next decrease together. So how this is going to work is that we're all going to start off by doing a yarn over, insert our hook into that third to last back loop, yarn over, pull through, second to last back loop, yarn over, pull through all 4 stitches, and 1 back loop half double crochet into that last. And then once we get this, we're going to do a chain out of 2, flip our work, do a decrease of 2 back loop half double crochets, work our way back down, putting 1 back loop half double into every stitch. And we're just going to maintain this pattern of decreasing into every 2 stitches on this side, and then into the bottom end we're going to be increasing into every other row until this portion reaches around our body. Now this should be just a little bit oversized as is, so this part is going to be completely up to you guys depending on how far you want this to go. I'm just going to keep going for maybe another row or 2. I will meet you guys back just to let you guys know how many I ended up going in with, and then we can do the other side, which is actually going to be exactly the same. Alright, so we are back with our super tiny underarm portion, and I'm actually all finished just after 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. And I did end on the bottom, that doesn't really matter, but I am going to cut and tie. But when we have this portion all finished up, we're going to do the same exact thing that we did here on the other side. I'm just going to talk you guys through it since it is exactly the same. Since we already have these stitches down here, we don't need to do another chain. We're just going to go ahead and insert our hook into this bottom corner, work our way up with our back loop half double crochets, and then we're going to automatically go in with our increases just like this. And then we're going to have the same shoulder portion, same underarm portion that we just made, and then once we end up having the same amount of rows on the other side, I will meet you guys back so we can get started on the back. So we are back, and we have just finished up going in with the entirety of our other front panel, so the entirety of our front is finished, and now we're going to start working on the back. The first thing that we're going to have to do is figure out where that middle point is when it comes to the chain that we have along the back. I've inserted my stitch marker into the 23rd chain. You guys can adjust if your numbers are a little different. But once we have that, we're going to have to take another number count, which is going to be the number count of this underarm portion that we have right here, along with the number count that we have from this portion going all the way up to the shoulder. So I have already counted mine out, and mine is going to be a total of 63. So from this middle stitch that we have, I'm going to insert my hook into this middle loop if I can, and then I'm going to start off by making a chain of 63. And now that I have my chain, what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to block off that last chain, do a chain up of 2, prepare for a half double, and then into that chain that we blocked off, or the third chain from our hook. We're going to go all the way down, putting 1 half double crochet into every chain. And then we're going to slip stitch it into the chain the same way that we have been slip stitching it into our piece right here, but we aren't going to be doing any increases or decreases. We're just going to count up the next 2 stitches that we have into our chain, slip stitch into there to close off this row, and then slip stitch up the next 2, flip our work, and then go back down, putting 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch. We're just going to go all the way across like that until we hit this corner right here, and then I'll meet you guys back. We are back, and we have just finished up making our way all the way across with our rows of back loop half double crochets, going all the way until we don't have any more chains left into this side of our chain. And we have just 2 more rows to do when it comes to just these regular back loop half double crochets, but they're actually going to be worked into these side single crochet loops and then these 2 single crochet stitches that we have that we left in the front panel. And we only started doing it this way because when we go in with our hood, we want it to be worked off of a chain instead of our chain single back loop single. So once when we are here, we are all going to be going into these side single crochet rows that we have into the front portion of our collar. So taking a look at this one right here, this is our first side single crochet, so I'm going to slip stitch into there, and then also into this next side single crochet row, slip stitch into there. And this is the same way that we got started for every other row. So from here, I'm just going to flip my work, keeping the other end blunt, and then I'm going to work my way back up with back loop half double crochets. And then to close off this section, I'm going to be slip stitching into these 2 single crochets that I have right here that's into the collar. So here's the first one, here's the next one. I will meet you guys back just so we can do this together, but go ahead and work your way down, bring it on back up, and then we can get started on this shoulder portion. So we have just made our way all the way back up with our back loop half double crochet row, and we have these 2 single crochets that we have left to slip stitch into, and these 2 single crochets are actually a part of the front portion of our collar that we made because we did insert our stitch marker into the second single crochet that we made when we were going in for the point. So what we're going to do from here is slip stitch into that second stitch. So we're going to count up 1, count up 2, slip stitch into there, and now our back portion is all closed off. And now we can go in with our shoulder portion. So what we're going to do from here is just like this part, do a chain up of 2, and then we're going to work back and forth with rows of back loop half double crochets until we have the same amount of rows that we have for our front portion. So go ahead and do those rows, and then I will meet you guys back. I have just finished up going in with my shoulder portion rows. I just had 2 on the front end, so I have 2 on the back. And from here, since I did end my last row at the top, I did do a chain up of 1 and cut because we will need to reinsert our hook into the bottom so that we can go in with another underarm portion just like this. Now we're going to have some options for this portion. This is going to be completely up to you, but what we're first going to want to do is insert our stitch marker into the same amount of stitches that we have into this last row that we have for our underarm portion. So I have inserted my stitch marker into the 27th stitch from the bottom, and then from here we are either going to insert our hook into the bottom and work our way up, or we can insert our hook where our stitch marker is and then work our way back down. If you guys have naturally ended all the way down here at the bottom, then you guys are in good shape. You guys can ignore what I'm about to say, but I will actually be inserting my hook into the stitch marker stitch so that I can keep matching the ribbing that I already have for the back panel, so it won't be just a little disrupted for this one row, but that's completely up to you guys. And we are going to want to make sure that we're holding it the same way that we would be holding it as if we were coming back down with that row of half double crochets. So I'm going to insert my hook into that stitch that has my stitch marker in it, making sure we're going in through that back loop because that's the whole reason why we're doing this. And then from here, we're going to be inserting our yarn, doing a chain up of 2, and then working all the way down, making sure that we have the same amount of stitches as we do over here. And then we're going to do a chain up of 2, flip our work, and then keep working back and forth like that until we have the same amount of rows as our underarm portion for the front panel. So I will keep going until I have a total of 4 rows. And then I will meet you guys back just to show you guys how to start off the other side of our back panel, which is basically the same as the way we started the other side of our front panel, but I'll remind you guys just one more time. I've just finished up going in with my underarm portion right over here. I did do a chain up of 1 and cut once when I had the same amount of rows as I had for the front panel. And now we can get started on the other half of our back panel, and it's going to be done the same exact way. I'm just going to show you guys where to insert your hook, which is the same spot that we inserted our hook for the front panel. We're just going to insert it into this bottom corner, and then from here just work our way back up with back loop half double crochets, repeating everything that we just did. So I will meet you guys back once we have this entire second portion of our back panel all finished up, and then we can get started on the rest. Alrighty, so we are back and we have just finished up going in with the entirety of our back panel, and now we are going to go in with our sleeve. I have already done one of mine, so we can get started on the other one together. The first thing we're going to have to do though is find the end of our yarn, but we're going to have to seam up the shoulder portion that we have right here. So we're going to insert our hook into the stitch that is right next to the collar. We can take out our stitch marker. Then we're going to insert our hook, making sure that we're going in through the front panel and in through the back panel at the same time. And then once when we have that, we are going to be inserting our yarn onto our hook, pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure, and then we're just going to have a bunch of side half double crochets to go into. So into each side half double crochet over here, we're just going to be going in with 2 single crochets into each of those. So we're just going to insert our hook into this first side half double right here, and then also making sure we're going into the same side half double into the back panel. And then there's 1 single crochet into that same side half double that we're in. We're going to go in with 1 more, and then I just have 1 more, so we'll do this together. Into my next side half double, insert your hook, next side half double into the back panel, single crochet, and then just have 1 more into this one, and then I will be doing a chain up of 1 and cut, and then we can get started on our sleeve. So getting started on our sleeve, what we are first going to do is insert our hook into the top corner stitches that we have when it comes to our underarm portion, and then we're going to be working up and around. So now that my hook is going in through both of these loops, we're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and do a chain up of 1 to secure. And then from here we're just going to go in with a row of single crochet first, and our first little bit that we have right here is actually a row of side half doubles. So for this chunk of side half doubles and the one on the other side, we're going to be alternating between 1 single and 2 single into every other side half double crochet row. So let's get that started off with each other. Into this first side half double crochet, I'm going to go in with 1 single crochet. Into that next side half double crochet, we're going to go in with 2 single crochet. And from here we're just going to alternate between 1 single and 2 single into every side half double. Put 1 single crochet into every stitch going all the way up, including going into this last stitch that we have when it comes to our side seam, and we're just going into this stitch so that we can eliminate any gappage. And then we're going to continue going down the other side of our armhole, and then once we get down to this underarm, we're going to do the same thing that we just did for the front, which is going in with alternating between 1 and 2 single crochets into each side half double. So I'll meet you guys back once when we have made our way all the way around with single crochets. So we've just made our way all the way around with our row of single crochet when it comes to our armhole. And as you guys can see, I have also inserted some stitch markers. This is just a visual. You guys can have your stitch markers higher or lower. This is completely up to you. But all we're going to do is start off this row and end this row with a decrease of 2 single crochets. From there, I'm just going to go all the way until I don't have any more of my underarm stitches left to go into with single crochets. And then this part we can eyeball. So I'm going to go up 15 stitches with half double crochets, and then from the stitch marker that I have, I'm going to go up and over, putting double crochets until I get to the same point that I have on this side but along the back. And then we're going to repeat the same amount of back loop half double crochets to back loop single crochets, and ending with a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets. So to start this row off with each other, we're going to do a chain up of 1. And into the first 2 stitches that we have, we're going to insert our hook into that back loop, yarn over, pull through, that next back loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3. And then from here, I'm going to put 1 single crochet into every stitch that I have left going into this underarm portion. So I should have a total of 4 back loop single crochets. There's 2, 3, and then there's 4. And from here, my next stitch is the one that's going into the body portion. So I'm actually going to take this stitch marker out, and then I'm going to automatically go in with my back loop half double crochets until I hit my next stitch marker. So prepare for a half double into that next back loop, go in with a back loop half double crochet until I hit my stitch marker. From there, I'm just going to go all the way up and around with back loop double crochets, and then just do the same thing that we did here along the bottom. I will meet you guys back once we're done with our back loop half double crochet section, just to close off this back loop single crochet section, because we are going to end with a decrease of 2 as well. So I'll meet you guys back once we get right around here. Alright, so we are back and we just have this little chunk left to go into, and this is our single crochets. So it should match the other side. For mine, I ended up having a total of 4 back loop single crochets and then my decrease of 2 back loop single crochets. So let's just go in with those. There's 1, there's 2, 3, 4, and then into my last 2 stitches that I have, we're going to go in with our decrease. So insert, pull through, insert, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3. And from here, go ahead and slip stitch into that chain up of 1 space, and then do another chain up of 1. And this pattern that we just did is actually going to be the pattern that we're going to be doing for just the next few rows. So all we're going to be doing is doing a decrease into the first 2 stitches and the last 2 stitches, and those are going to be a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets each, and then we're just going to be putting 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch until we hit this corner. So just as an example, my previous row had a total of 4 back loop single crochets, not including my decrease of 2 back loop single crochets. So for this next row, I should have a total of 3 back loop single crochets. And then the numbers that we should have going all the way up should be the same. So my 15 back loop half double crochets, and then my double crochets in the back loops going all the way up and over. And then we're just going to keep repeating this until this portion that we have is completely straight with our underarm piece that we have right here. So I'm actually going to keep going until I have a total of 5 rows, and then I will meet you guys back. Alright, so we are back and we have just finished up going in with our vertical portion when it comes to this little, I guess, cap is what we're going to call it. And now I can go straight into the bat wing portion. So now we're just going to be working in with back loop half double crochets. And the first row that we're going to do is going to be a row of decreases. So for this first row, we're going to do a chain up of 2 and then go in with 14 back loop half double crochets. So we're going to untwist our work, do a chain up of 2, and then put 1 back loop half double crochet into the next 14 stitches. So now that we have our 14 back loop half double crochets into that 15th and 16th stitch, we are going to go in with our decrease of 2 back loop half doubles. So just to start this off, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that next back loop, yarn over, pull through, back loop after that, yarn over, pull through. We should have 4 loops on our hook. From here, we're going to yarn over, pull through all 4. And this is going to be the sequence for this row. We're just going to keep going all the way around, putting 1 back loop half double crochet into the next 14 stitches and then decreasing into the next 2. And then the row after this is going to be a row of regular back loop half double crochets, no increases, no decreases. So we're going to be alternating between rows when we're doing our decreases. And this is going to be fairly simple, so I'm just going to talk you guys through it. This row, we're decreasing into every 15th stitch. The next row, we're going to leave it regular, so just 1 back loop half double into the row after that. Next, we're going to be decreasing into every 13th stitch. So we're going to progressively get lower with our decreases. So we're going to decrease into the 13th, into the row after that. We're just going to be putting 1 back loop half double into every stitch that we have, into the row after that, decrease into the 11th, and just keep going, so on and so forth like that, until we get to right about where our elbow is. And then I will meet you guys back to let you guys know the measurement and the amount of rows that I have, and then also how we're going to go in with the rest of the sleeve from there. So we're back and we have just finished up going in with this bat wing portion, and I ended up having a total of 17 rows, and the length that I have was a total of about 7 inches or 18 centimeters, and I'm right about where my elbow is. And from here, we're just going to go in with the sleeve length. So I have already measured mine out, but I'm measuring it out in chunks because we're going to be using 2 different hooks for this. So to start this off with my 5.5mm hook, I'm going to make a chain that is the rest of the length that we want our sleeve to be, not including our cuff. So I'm going to make a chain of 33, or that comes out to about 8 inches or 24 centimeters. And then I will meet you guys back so that we can switch out to our 3.5mm hook, and then we can go in with our cuff length right after that. So I'm going to start off by making the rest of my sleeve length chain. Alright, so I have just gone in with my sleeve chain, and I did switch out my hook for my 3.5mm hook, and then I have also inserted my stitch marker into that last chain because that is going to be the point where we switch it out between the 5.5 and the 3.5. But from here, go ahead and measure out the length of the cuff that we want. I want my cuff to be just about 4.5 inches or 12 centimeters. So with my 3.5mm hook, I'm going to make a chain of 25. So now that I have my chain, we can now start working in with our half double crochets. So I'm going to block off that last chain, do a chain up of 2 that counts as a half double, and I am still working with my 3.5mm hook. I'm going to prepare for a half double, and into that chain that we blocked off, I'm just going to go in with a half double, or that's our 3rd chain from our hook. And then from here, we're just going to be putting 1 half double into every stitch, but we are going to switch out our hooks once we hit our stitch marker. So I'll meet you guys back right at that point. So we have just half double crocheted all the way down until we hit our stitch marker. So I'm now going to be switching my 3.5 out for my 5.5, and then we're going to prepare for a half double crochet. We can now take out that stitch marker, but don't put it too far because we're going to insert it back into this next stitch. And then we're going to go in with a half double. And then we're just going to insert our stitch marker back into there just so we know where we are switching out our hook. And then make our way all the way down, putting 1 half double into every chain. And then I'll meet you guys back so that we can connect it into the base together. Alright, so we have just made our way all the way back down with our row of half double crochet, and we're going to connect it into the base pretty much the same way that we have connected everything else into the base. So all we're going to do is count up the next 2 available stitches. So there's 1, there's 2, slip stitch into there, and then to work our way up to the next row, we're going to count up 1, 2, and flip our work. And then from here, we're going to go in, putting 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch. And then once we hit our stitch marker, we will be switching out our hook for our 3.5mm hook and continuing with our back loop half double crochets. Once we make it to the end, do a chain up of 2, flip our work, and then bring it on back down with more back loop half double crochets, remembering to switch out our hook where necessary. And then we're going to connect it into the base the same way that we just did. And then I will meet you guys back once we don't have any more loops left to go into so that we can seam it all up together. So we're back, and we have just finished up going all the way around with our sleeve slash cuff. And what we're going to do from here is just seam it all up. We are going to want to make sure that once we get to this cuff line, we are going to want to switch out our hook to our 3.5mm hook as well, or if you guys are on the other side, vice versa. But let's just get this started off with each other. The first thing we want to do is just make sure that all the seams are on the same side, so just make sure it's on the same side as our shoulder seam we did a couple clips ago. And then from here, we're going to insert our hook into the first available loop into the front panel, and then into the next available loop into the back panel, and single crochet. And we're going to keep doing this going all the way down, remembering to switch out our hooks once we don't have any more stitches left to go into. We're going to do a chain up of 1 and cut, and we're going to do the same sleeve detail that we just did on the other side, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, so we have just finished up going in with both of our sleeves, and the next thing we're going to have to do is our hood. And our hood is actually going to be done in 3 separate panels, mainly because I want the sides of my hood to match the type of ribbing that we have for our cap sleeve. So what we're going to do is first separate where we want the hood to start. So from my middle point, I inserted my stitch marker into the 21st stitches on either side, and then also where we want this side portion to end. So from these corners, I counted in a total of 12 stitches, and then I inserted my stitch markers into there along both sides as well. And then go ahead and just count it out, make sure that everything is nice and even. And then once we have that, we are all going to get started on the left side first, because they are going to be done the same, but it's going to be in the reverse because the ribbing is different along both sides. So making sure that our work is flipped right side out, faced up, we're all going to get started on the left. And we are going to first take, just for this first row, our 4mm hook and then insert it into that stitch marker that we have along the front, making sure we're going in through the front loop only. Once we have that, we will take our yarn, insert that onto our hook, and then we're just going to do a chain up of 2. And then from here, we're going to go all the way down until we hit our next stitch marker. But for this front portion that we have, we're going to be going in through the front loops, and then obviously when we go in through the back chain, there's not really any real loops for us to go into, so we're just going to be putting a half double into whatever chain we have. So just to do the first front loop half double crochet together, we're going to prepare for a half double, go into that next stitch, insert our hook, and also before we get started, I am going to be cutting and tying. So what we're going to do is hide in our tail ends as we go. So how we're going to do that is grab our tail end and then place it onto our hook right after we insert it into the stitch. And then we're going to do our stitch just like normal, and this applies for this pattern and any stitch or any other pattern. But from here, we're going to yarn over, pull through, making sure that our tail end is in between our yarn and our hook at this point. And we're going to yarn over, pull through 3. And then as you guys can see, our tail end is in the middle of our half double crochet, so we don't have to weave it in later. But once we have that, we're going to prepare for another, go into that next front loop, hold our tail end over our hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, and then our tail end is still in the middle of our half double crochet, so we are looking pretty good. So go ahead and go all the way down, putting one front loop half double crochet into each of the stitches that we have into the collar, and then go all the way down till we hit our back stitch marker with more regular half double crochets. Do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I'll meet you guys back at the other side of our work. We have just finished up going in with our first row of front loop half double crochets, and now we're going to go in with our next few rows of back loop half double crochets. So getting this part started, we are first going to be switching out to our 5.5mm hook, and then we're going to be inserting our hook into the second stitch that we have into the previous row. So we typically insert our hook into that second chain. We're actually going to be going 1 stitch over, making sure we're going in through that back loop. We're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and do a chain up of 2 that counts as a half double crochet. And when we do that, we're next going to be going in with our back loop half double crochet decrease of 2. So we're going to prepare for a half double, go into that next back loop. We're going to grab our yarn, place that over our hook, yarn over, pull through, in through that next back loop, yarn over, pull through. We should have 4 loops on our hook, and we're going to yarn over, pull through all 4 loops. And that is our decrease. And from here, we're just going to go all the way down, putting 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch. Once we make our way down to the end, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then we're going to reinsert our hook into the second stitch that we have into this row that we are doing right now. And I'm actually going to keep going until I have a total of 5 rows, and that does include this first row right here. And then from there, we're just going to shoot straight up with back loop half double crochets. So I'll meet you guys back once when I have my 5 rows all finished up. Alrighty, so we have just made our way back, and I have my 5 rows where we did our decreases all finished up, and this is just about where I want to stop doing my decreases. So all I will be doing from here is just inserting my hook into that first stitch, and then just doing back loop half double crochets all the way around. Chain up of 1 and cut. Same deal, just going, not back and forth, but bring it back to the front to the back, just like that, until this gets to the height that we need this side to be. And then I will meet you guys back so that we can talk to you guys about how to do the other side. So I am back with the height of my hood, and just to let you guys know, from the bottom all the way up to the top, I ended up having a total of 27 rows, or that's a total of 14 inches or 36 centimeters. And right before we get started on the other side, we're just going to go in with a regular row of single crochet going down the top and also down this back side so that we can clean up all these ends as well. So from here, we're just going to insert our hook into this corner stitch, insert our yarn onto our hook, and then we're going to go all the way down, putting 1 single crochet into every stitch that we have. And then I will show you guys how we're going to go down the side of each of these side half double crochet rows as well. So we've just single crocheted going along the top, and just going along the side, we're going to be alternating between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side half double. So into this first side half double that we have right here, we're going to go in with 1 single crochet. And then into this next side half double, we're going to go in with 2 single crochet, but just like how we were weaving in the ends as we were going, we're going to do the same thing here. So just make sure that this next tail end is on top of our next loop, and there is 1 single crochet, and there is 2. And since all of these tail ends are really close to each other, they are going to start overlapping. As an example, into this next side half double, we're going to have 2 tail ends on top of each other. That's totally fine. But we are going to keep alternating just like that, going all the way down. Once we get down to the end, go ahead and do a chain up of 1 and cut. So we've just finished up going in with the left side of our hood, and now we're going to get started with the right. So just like before, we are first going to be going in with our 4mm hook, but instead of going in through this front part and going back like how we did on the left side, we're actually going to have to start from the back piece and then bringing our way down forward this way so that our ribbing can match. So I'm going to flip my work around. I'm going to first insert my hook into this stitch that has my stitch marker into it. I'm going to do a chain up of 2 and go in with half double crochets. Once we make our way over to the collar, down to my next stitch marker over here, I'm going to go in with front loop half double crochets, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, so now that we have just finished up going in with our first row, we can now go in with our rows of back loop half double crochets with our 5mm hook. So what we're going to want to do is insert our hook into the first stitch that we have over here. So into this chain up of 2 space, we're going to insert our hook into that second chain, making sure we're going in through that back loop, and then we're going to be doing 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch, but we are going to leave the last 4 stitches, and it's going to basically mimic what we have on this side. I'll meet you guys back once we have these last 4 left, and then I'll show you guys what to do from there, and then we can just go straight in with the length from there. So we have just made our way all the way down. We have our last 4 stitches left, and what we're going to do from here is prepare for a half double. Go into that 4th to last, into that back loop, pull through, 3rd to last, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 4, and then just into that 2nd to last, we're going to go in with 1 back loop half double, and we're going to leave this one available just like that. From here, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then we're going to repeat. So insert your hook into that 2nd chain that we have into the original chain 2 that we had in the previous row. Work our way back and then decrease into the 4th and 3rd to last, 1 back loop half double crochet into the last. We're going to keep doing that until we have the same amount of decreased rows that we have on the other side, which mine was a total of 5 rows, including this first run. And then from there, we're just going to shoot straight up with our back loop half double crochets where we do our cut and ties at the ends. And then I'll meet you guys back once we have the same height as the other side, and then also have gone all the way down the other end with a row of single crochet just to clean it up as well. Alright, so we have just finished up going in with both of our hood panels, and now we're going to start working on the middle portion. So it's going to be built off of one, and then we're going to have to seam it into the other. But how we're going to start this off is taking a look at this corner that we have that has our single crochet that goes all the way back and then down the back right here. So what we're going to do is insert our hook into that back loop, pull through, and start this off by doing a chain up of 2 that counts as a half double crochet. And then from here, we're just going to go all the way down, putting 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch, including going over this little corner that we have right here as well. I will meet you guys back at the end of this row so that we can connect it into the base together. But other than that, we're just going to keep going back and forth like that until this fills up completely, and then we're going to seam it up to the other side. We've just made our way all the way down with our row of back loop half double crochets, and now we're ready to attach it into the base, which is our chain that we have for our back piece. So what we're going to do, this may be a little bit tricky, we're going to count up 1, count up 2 chains, and then we're going to slip stitch into that 2nd chain. So we're going to insert, yarn over, pull through everything, and now this first row is nice and attached. And what we're going to do from here is slip stitch up the next 2 chains. So here is 1, if I can get my hook in there. This may be a little tricky. There is 1, and then there is 2. Once we have those 2 slip stitches, we will flip our work and then work our way down with back loop half double crochets. We're going to keep doing this until we don't have any more stitches left into the back chain that we have, and then I'll meet you guys back so that we can seam it up to the other side of the hood. So we are back, and we have just finished up going in with all of our back loop half double crochet rows, and I don't have any more loops left to go into our back chain. So we're now going to seam it up to our other side of our hood. The first thing we're going to want to do is just make sure that it is flipped wrong side out so that all of our seams could be faced along the same side. And all we're going to do is just sandwich the 2 panels together. So I am going to make sure that my hook is being inserted into the first loop into the front panel, then also into the back panel. Once we flip it inside out, the seam will be on the inside. But once we have that, we're going to pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure. And then from here, we're just going to go all the way down with a row of single crochets, just like how we've seamed up everything else. So let's just do the first one together. We're going to insert our hook into the first available loop into the front panel, next available loop into the back panel, and single crochet. Go ahead and just keep doing that, going all the way down, and then I'll meet you guys back when we have cut and tied this section so that we can clean up all of these loose ends along the front. Alright, so we have just finished up seaming up our middle portion when it came to our hood. And now we're going to clean up all of these edges. It's going to be cleaned up the same way that everything else has been cleaned up so far. The first thing we're going to do though is just insert our hook into the next available stitch that we have into the collar. And then we're just going to go all the way up and around with a row of single crochet, making sure that we're alternating between 1 to 2 single crochets into each of these side half double crochets. So we're just going to start this off with each other. We're going to insert our hook into the next available stitch we have into the collar. And once when it's pulled through, we're going to pull our yarn through our hook, do a chain up of 1 to secure, and then we're just going to alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets going all the way up and around. And then once we have made our way over to this other side, we are going to slip stitch into the next available stitch we have into the collar, do a chain up of 1 and cut. Alright, so we are back and we have just finished up going in with the entirety of our hood, and now we're just going to seam up just a little bit of our underarm portion right here. So this can be as high or as low as you guys want. I'm just going to go in with a total of 6 single crochets, which is about 1 inch or 3 centimeters. So what we're going to do is take our 5.5 millimeter hook, Insert our hook into the first available stitch we have into the front panel, and then into the next available stitch we have into the back panel. Insert our hook, pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure. And from here, we're going to insert our hook into the next available loop, and then also into the next available loop into the back panel, and then single crochet. And like I said, I'm going to keep going until I have a total of 6 single crochets, but you guys can keep going for as long as you guys need, and then do a chain up of 1 and cut, and do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so we have just finished up seaming both of our sides, and we are actually all done. So the last thing that we're going to have to do is just weave in all of our ends. Our ends are woven in, and our hoodie is all finished up. This one was actually a lot of fun to make because we've never done a hood like this before, but I'm super happy with how it turned out. There's a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for discount off any $9.99 plus order. Enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us your favorite summer projects. Good luck to everyone who enters. Also, if you like the video, give it a big thumbs up because believe it or not, it really helps. And be sure to share us on Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook. Links down below. Link to our Etsy page is down there too if you want to buy this piece or any other piece on the channel. And be sure to favorite the shop so you don't miss out on new patterns and exclusive deals. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.